My name is Nikola Gazdov, chair of APSTE and one of the co-organizers of Resource Southeast. We had a very interesting day yesterday. We heard a lot about the plans of the government of Bulgaria, the TSO. We heard a lot about, the current trends in Europe and how to mainstream PPAs to get the positive case studies from other parts of Europe and implement them here. We heard about trading activities, guarantees of origin. We heard a little bit about storage. I think we're going to be hearing a lot more today. And obviously, there were a lot of challenges that we have discussed. I think today we're going to be having a very rich program, starting with the first panel about cross-border trading, PPAs, challenges related to market coupling and managing the grids with a much higher share of renewables now than even last year, let alone a couple of years ago. I have the pleasure to moderate this first panel, and I would like to ask the established participants to join me on stage. Mr. Zarchev from ESO, Mr. Tedeschi from Baringa, Mr. Popov from AXPO, Mr. Vartigov from Enery, and Mr. Margenov from Met Trading. Because yesterday we had some trouble with the microphones, we are going to be using the ones on the table and the handheld device. And I'm going to join you here. Let's see, yes. We're using this one, and maybe not being a complete gentleman, I will not start with you, Francesca. I'll start with Mr. Zarchev, because he has the unique role of having to make sure the light is on. I think very good job so far. What is happening? What is the status currently? We see that Bulgaria has added probably 4 gigawatts of solar in the last 5 years. Pretty much the same in Romania. Greece has also done a great job. I think currently they probably have around 8 gigawatts. Wind is lagging a little bit behind, but also several gigawatts in the region. Yesterday, your boss, Mr. Zarchev, said that we have had a day with roughly 70% of solar in the mix, and then adding the nuclear fleet. We are really close to hitting the 100% mark of low carbon electricity, but how hard it is to manage the grid, the national one and also the regional perspective.
Thank you, and I'm very glad to be here. Quite an interesting questions. Some of them have answers, others are pending, let's say, to find the solution in the future probably. It's a fact. We are decarbonizing more and more, especially, let's say that managing the electrical power system is quite an interesting task. This is my water. Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. And especially at the times when we have so much production coming from renewables. Of course, the grid is not what it used to be, even if we look, let's say, 2 years behind. You can see here some data. I'm sorry, it's in, I don't know, over there. It's in Bulgarian. But in general, what you can see is that the share for the last 2 years has increased in installed capacity from renewables, especially from photovoltaics. Now we have something like almost 5 gigawatts of installed capacity from photovoltaics that are producing especially during spring and during autumn periods. Although it's a fact, may we have the next slide, please? Because this is the installed capacity, but this is the most interesting slide, actually. If you look at this is the gross production over the year. For 2022, you can see that roughly 52% of the production was from thermal power plants, which was decreased only for 2 years to 33%. taking over from photovoltaics, which from roughly 4% of the gross production reached already 14%. And this is a fact for 2 years. Of course, we are decarbonizing, it's good news. But then managing the power grid, what is happening? What is happening is that we are in a situation where we are losing our sources of ancillary services, our sources of grid forming, and the stability of the network. What does it mean? Okay, look at 3 weeks ago what happened in Spain. Look last weekend what happened in North Macedonia. Actually, this is not something new because it already happened last year. It was in June in Montenegro. So, for now, let's say we are on the safe side. Yeah, we have voltage problems, definitely, in the whole region. Voltages are growing immensely, especially in the morning hours when we have all this unloaded grid with no renewable production, and we have to satisfy minimum loads. But in the future, we'll have also problem with low voltages, as much as these photovoltaics and wind and all this renewable generation is coming more and more on the grid. Because we'll suffer from the so-called non-frequency services. These are services that actually are managing the grid beneath the active power transport. And they are vital in order to have a grid and to continue to transport this power. This is a situation where, which is faced by not only us, but also from our colleagues here in the region, because our share from renewables is quite big, especially, as I told you, in the spring and in the autumn. These events are coming more and more closer. So what would be the solution for these events? First of all, in the future, we'll have to decouple the ancillary services and the grid forming services from the active power transport, where, of course, the power exchanges, the power markets will be handling the supply of the power, and the operator by itself will be able to provide a stable grid with enough stability, with enough inertia, and with enough ancillary services that will be able to handle this grid. This is one part of the problem. Second part, which of course is manageable, but it needs investments. And the second part is what we are gathered here for today. And actually the source of this discussion that we'll be having is an article in Regulation 943 from 2019, where we as operators were forced to provide 70% of our thermal capacity to the markets, for interconnections, I mean, which really since 2019 increased a lot our available transmission capacity that was provided to the markets, and also somehow pushed the markets to evolve, to be coupled, and to have this trade that we are witnessing now. Just as a figure, I can tell you that at the moment, if we are reaching maximum load in Bulgaria of around 4,000 megawatts, this is the total load of our country, today and yesterday and probably
the minimum
tomorrow.
load, or
no, this is the maximum load. We have available transmission capacity for power trade that is 4,400. So through the power exchanges, of course, we can satisfy the load in Bulgaria from outside if the prices are good enough, let's say, and the schedules are okay. But this is facing us from in front of stability issues and the issues that I explained to you earlier. So balancing has a new meaning already. And it's not only active power balancing that we knew, but it's really grid forming and stability and resilience of the power grid in order these power exchanges to be alive, to be vital, and to continue to supply.
Very quick follow-up and very short answer, because I think it could be a very long one as well. Does this enhanced interconnectivity in the region mean that our Southeast European region is more protected or less prone to a situation like the one we saw in between France and Spain, let's say?
Very fast. Connectivity has its role. More and more infrastructure is needed, but this infrastructure needs to come with the right means to be able to protect it, to manage it, and to handle it, because loaded and unloaded networks are equally dangerous, and they may lead to events as we witnessed in Spain, in Portugal, and also in North Macedonia, and hopefully not in Bulgaria.
Okay, that sounds like a good news. Then maybe, actually, Zdravko, I'll jump to you because you represent AXPO, a large trader active in the region. So this enhanced connectivity and market coupling, what does it mean for cross-border trading and, you know, also the bigger capacity of renewables, obviously solar developing much faster than wind for different reasons. Does this have an impact on cross-border trading and cross-border PPAs?
Good morning, everybody. Well, markets in the region have always been cross-border. Years ago, when the market started, there was no power exchange. The way to export, to sell just some hours, for example, you need to take capacity, go to Romania, go to HUPEX markets that already have exchanges. And nowadays we are lucky having very liquid exchange. On the other side, power futures are still illiquid. You have difficulty if you want to hedge bigger volumes or years ahead. Either no liquidity or no such products. You need to go either to HUPEX, to Germany, Italian futures, proxy with TTF gas we do as well. But to illustrate also how they are connected now on a short-term spot level, as an example, I'd like to compare. If we take Bulgaria and Serbia, Southeast Europe, they are neighboring countries and very close as land size, as population, officially plus minus 6.7 million people. Based on Enery data, the electricity consumption for 2024 of Bulgaria was 36 terawatt hours here in the presentation. Okay, it's a bit more on SO presentation now. For Serbia was 34, 35. And even the shape is quite similar. From the beginning of 2025 till now, the number of hours when the price of electricity is under €1 for Bulgaria, these are 166 hours. For Serbia, do you know how much is it? 130. But in Bulgaria, officially there are 5,000 megawatts of PV installed. In Serbia, just 78 megawatts. And this is the cross-border. It's not only Bulgaria. Serbia is very much affected by a lot of solar from Hungary, coming from Greece also, via North Macedonia or via Bulgaria. And this is a new reality that has to be considered for every new investor. If you are now about to invest in any of these countries, there is already an effect on the prices. It is win-win, in fact. For us, this is still an export corridor, countries where surpluses of energies can be transferred. On the other side, for these countries, this is a cheap energy that they receive. This is, of course, changing the strategy of each investor. There, at least in our observation, the projects that will come there are already with co-located battery because of this, because of also the price of the technology. And then coming to the PPAs, as I shared that markets, yes, they are correlated. We go to HUPEX. In fact, on AXPO side, our pricing, it's always based on what is our option to offset the volume and the risk we are taking. And this is the market, and the market, as I said, it's cross-border. There, Southeast Europe is very correlated.
Thank you very much. Then maybe Francesca, to you. I mean, you are very recognizable advisor. You know, I think most sponsors and banks are getting smarter via your reports how to build their strategies around pricing and PPAs. But what is the motivation for a cross-border PPA, let's say? What is the motivation of a seller and of a buyer?
So I think something was already mentioned by you. So the forwards in this region are very liquid. So if you are a consumer, for instance, and you need to hedge, there's very little option to hedge over the long term. So some of the corporates that need a longer term hedge that cannot be found in products currently traded, and they are not so sophisticated to go cross-border and do very sophisticated hedging structures. What they do, they look at the renewable industry and they say, well, maybe I have renewable projects in a number of countries and I can create a portfolio with single assets. So it's really the hedging perspective is number one, and the inability of finding that longer term hedge in the market where they're generating through products that are currently traded. So probably that's one reason. The second reason is some of the consumers, again, so from a buyer perspective, they are after renewable electricity and certificates. And ultimately, they are agnostic where they're coming from for now. Things may change going forward, but they're really looking for the cheapest, best NPV positive way of procuring those certificates. So ultimately, they look across potentially Europe and they say, where can I find the cheapest NPV basis deal I can find? And I don't mind where I am because maybe I'm not hedging my demand, I'm just after certificates, and they look across Europe and they could find cheaper deals, let's say on that NPV basis in some of the regions. So I think those are the two main reasons why a corporate is really looking at cross-border PPAs or in general. From a generator perspective, I guess it's a little bit of the same. So what kind of options do I have to monetize my assets? Obviously, I cannot stay fully merchant in most of the cases, not all, but most. Banks need, if I want to raise debt, some form of hedging. Do I have an avenue provided by governments? Do I have a CFD style or similar formats? Maybe I don't, or the price is not as competitive, or the time is not quite right. So therefore, I need to find another instrument. And again, they go to the market, they go to some of you guys in terms of trader utilities, or they go to a corporate is interested and they try to find a different solution, market-based solution. The question is, if it's a cross-border, it's because I cannot find it in my market, so I need to go with a wider pool of potential buyers and traders and explore across the region. And that's why the cross-border element enters into the equation. But those are the main two drivers. I cannot find in my market, therefore I look around as a best proxy. Or as a consumer, in summary, I'm just after certificates, I'm agnostic where things are coming from, and therefore I'm happy to go regionally.
So follow-up question, actually, maybe you
can. Okay, I'm just quite interested in this. In general, how do you manage for the long-term transmission rights when you have a PPA that is crossing
Can I give you a short answer? You don't, because most of the deals cross-border, just to be clear, are purely financial. It's a cash exchange. It's not, you cannot buy cross-border capacity over the long term for 10 years. Here we go.
I think we can also perhaps use your microphone over there, Stefan, I think, because you need to press it and, yeah.
That's actually a really good question about how we should use the PTRs. And actually the PTRs, which are on the coupled countries, could be used as FTRs, which is the most beneficial thing. And if you want to create a proper hedging, you should secure such a PTR or FTR in both directions.
Can you explain what this is for the non-traders in the room?
Yeah, transmission rights, which are physical and could be used at the border. But what, for example, JAO, Joint Allocation Office in Europe is providing is that you could use your PTR as an FTR, which is financial transmission right. So you don't need to do the actual flow through the border and to create, to move your physical energy from Bulgaria to Romania to Hungary, etc., just to take the difference between both countries. And it's really important for producers, consumers to know, and especially for the traders, that they should be hedged through the opposite way. Because I'm not so sure if most of you know what happened, for example, 2 days ago. The Bulgarian day-ahead exchange was 85 euros above Germany, and the previous day it was traded at around 15 euros difference. So this is creating a huge discrepancy, and it was happened because of the core flow based, and they have reduced the available transmission capacity between Germany and Czech Republic. It was reduced with 1.5 giga, and between Austria and Hungary with another 1.5 giga. And at the same time, Hungary and Romania was reduced with 2 gigs. And that created? If in the day before that, Germany was traded at 70 euros, and Hungary was traded at 90, and Bulgaria at, it's totally liquid, but to say 92. At the day of delivery, we received that Germany was 70, Hungary was 126, and Romania and Bulgaria was 156, which is an amazing difference. And it's just happened like that, just in the morning. So each short-term trader should know and should follow that just to expect what is going to happen on the market. But if you have secured this with a long-term capacity, you're going to receive that money as insurance on the opposite way. So that's the only way to properly manage and to avoid such situations.
What does long-term
Long-term,
1 year? 6 months?
Unfortunately, the longest one is 1 year capacity. But for a proper hedging of renewables, of course, we should look into the seasonality. This table, which was shown by Mr. Zarchev, I think we should dig about into it and to see what is the seasonality of the different sources. So, for example, for solar, you need a lot more in Q2 and Q3, so you need more capacity. So it's not only yearly capacities, you should then split it on a different ways, on a quarterly basis, on a month. You should use monthly basis, of course, because the types of capacities are daily, monthly, or yearly. And you should split your yearly and to increase or reduce your position each month. And it's a lot of work, a lot of operational stuff, but if you want to be without risk and to secure proper hedge, actually, this is the only way to manage it even on a daily basis.
I think that's a very good point. We're going to come back to it, but now, Severin, maybe you want to add something?
Yep. I mean, as usual, it became complicated. But just to also add my view on this one, I mean, on a 10-year cross-border PPA, it's of course close to impossible. I mean, it is impossible to hedge.
Physical, you mean?
No, virtual. I mean, all of them are virtual anyway, so no need to discuss, but the risk is there. This is basically the spread risk. To reflect also to what Mr. Zarchev said, I mean, if there is abundance of cross-border capacity, clear, and this is for the market, prices will be equal, so there is no risk in case of cap-out markets and abundant cross-border capacity. From that perspective, not to complicate how the cross-border deals work, it is sufficient to say that this is a spread risk, so the basis risk representing the delta between the prices in both market zones that needs to be somehow negotiated between both parties. What happens if it is up to a certain threshold or above that, but it's a pure negotiation point between both parties. In our opinion, and as we said yesterday, there are a few arguments, most of them already mentioned by Mr. Zarchev, why we also believe that the markets will become more and more integrated in the future. You have the coupling, you have the cross-border capacity. It was set at a system load of 4 gigawatts, having cross-border capacity available, transmission capacity of more than 4 gigs. I mean, clearly, the market is well connected. On top of that, we have the generation mixes of all EU countries becoming so similar with the deployment of renewables. So from that perspective, what is the incentive of the PPA sellers in cross-border PPAs? That's clear. It's again bankability, predictability of cash flows, etc. But from the perspective of the off-takers, I mean, there are, I would say, additional benefits compared to local PPAs they can sign in their own countries. First of all, to confirm what Francesca said, of course, if you look for cross-border PPAs, you will receive more bids. So you can compare and create a more competitive procedure. Then, on top of that, of course, pricing. I mean, for having signed a cross-border PPA with the Hungarian off-taker, I can say that it was much easier to sell a Bulgarian project to this Hungarian off-taker ready to consider cross-border PPAs, given, first of all, the financial benefits. The irradiation in Bulgaria is much higher. Clearly, we are able to bid more aggressively than the Hungarian developers. And on top of that, it's not only the financial implication, but also from an ESG perspective, it makes much more sense to enable the construction of a renewable project in a lignite-dominated market like Bulgaria, or coal-dominated one like Czech Republic. So it might be a win-win. There are risks. I mean, the basis risk being somehow solvable or negotiable between the parties. And again, there might be also an FX risk if the countries are not members of the Eurozone. This one is non-hedgeable for the time being.
So just one follow-up question, because we are now speaking more general. Can you provide a bit more specifics about this cross-border PPA you mentioned? So why cross-border first? Because I think for the same asset, if I'm right, it's also the PPA with KCM, with KCM in Bulgaria, which we discussed yesterday. Also KCM was here. But why cross-border? Is it indeed easier than to, let's say, focus only on a PPA in Bulgaria or a PPA in Romania? I guess PPAs in Greece are a bit, or the PPA market in Greece for physical PPAs is a bit more liquid than the ones in Bulgaria and Romania, but why cross-border, and what is the difference in practical terms?
Yep, this PPA is signed by our solar plant in Cenovo, 113 megawatt peak installed capacity. There we signed one physical local PPA with KCM, 12-year deal. The one that I mentioned is with Asahi Breweries, so their subsidiary in Hungary. It's a 10-year deal. Just the PPA team of Asahi, I mean, they were very well prepared, and at the time they were ready to look at projects from, I would say, Czech Republic to Greece for cross-border deals. Of course, in the end, it's also up to the developers, because as you can imagine, the settlement is on HUPEX. So we, in a way, assume the basis risk. So physically we sell in Bulgaria, but we settle the difference between the fixed PPA price and the day-ahead market price in Hungary, although it is in euro. And as I said, in an open procedure, projects in Bulgaria in Greece for cross-border deals, of course, have advantage in the region because of the higher production and the fact that we can bid at a lower price. Then there was also an educational process with the lenders. We worked with Baringa at the time to assess the cross-border risk. Simultaneously, we signed also another cross-border deal with a Romanian off-taker for the same asset. But if I need to sum up, always you need a partner in terms of consultancy to prepare an independent report to be provided to the lenders. It is still something new, but we already paved the way for other deals. This was followed by a big Resolve PPA for their wind asset in Romania. And clearly it works, it's bankable, and it's a solution for the liquidity issue we have, especially in Bulgaria, where the market is smaller.
Thank you very much. Very, very interesting points. Now, back to you, Dimitar. Okay, we hear it today. We heard it also yesterday by Mr. Zarchev and by the Minister of Energy, Mr. Stankov. Cross-border capacity, interconnectors, very important topic. And then physical connectivity is there even now, so it's a matter of, let's say, enhancing both that part, but also the market coupling, in a way, by providing for more, you know, and longer-term ability to secure capacity. But then again, also storage, another big topic. So which one of them is more important, or are they separate tracks that you need to follow simultaneously? I mean, we see that in Bulgaria only, in the next year probably, if all goes right, we're going to have 10 gigawatt hours of storage capacity, which is absolutely incredible, considering that, you know, 6 months ago we had pretty much zero, okay, 1 year ago. Romania is again investing also very strongly in storage. Greece is actually the front runner in the region. So how is the situation going to change, and what is your, you know, your ability to work with all these changes?
Thanks. Okay, so simple answer. If you have an orchestra and you want to play Rachmaninoff, I don't know, whatever, Bach, Mozart, then you cannot take out, for example, the drum section or the violin section or whatever. You need to have it all. Yeah, this is just one part of the solution. But in general, if we look back, let's say, this was quite illustrative even 2 years ago. So we had these grid forming services as a byproduct from conventional power plants. And now we are very fastly and aggressively changing all these sources and of active energy with new sources that are, let's say, by nature decoupled from the system because they are working through the inverters. So we have to think about the byproducts as, let's say, main products which are running beneath these new sources. And this goes for batteries, this goes for renewables, you know, wind and solar, because they are connected through inverters to the grid. And this also is connected with the cooperation between the operators. What do I mean? Yes, these big projects, they are underway actually. Even I can freely announce that we started the first one, which will increase actually the transmission capacity between Turkey and Italy, going through Bulgaria, Greece, North Macedonia, Albania, Montenegro, Kosovo. So there'll be an infrastructure. The infrastructure, if it's increased enough, it's transferring this stability from one region to another, which is going beneath the the trading of ancillary services that are frequency dependent and so on. But the batteries, what I mean finally, will solve one part of the equation because they will solve the active power imbalances. You can imagine that for now, even I appreciate very much these cross-border PPAs because finally they end up with some cross-border trade schedules, and these schedules are sustainable. So I know that, for example, at 1 o'clock today I'll be exporting 2,000 megawatts, and around 10 o'clock today, again PM I'm talking, I'll be importing something like 500 megawatts. So yeah, it's manageable from power difference that I'm receiving, and that needs to be managed in general for the network, which is around 1.5 gigawatts up to 2 gigawatts, changes in the generation fleet and also in the cross-border trade. For sure the batteries will help, but beneath that we need really bigger and more stronger interconnectivity between the operators, and this is ongoing, as I told you, just to be able to transfer the stability, to transfer the inertia, to transfer the voltage control. Because what happened, as you already know, in North Macedonia, it was the voltages rise so much that just the auto transformers, they were disconnected from the grid because of the protections they have, and the people stayed without power supply for something like 5 hours. And this is a situation that the grid and also the proper devices beneath will manage, and the batteries, they will manage the second part of the equation. So the frequency dependence from the active power and also the active balance, that is something like a hard thing to be maintained with so big market coupling, especially in the region and also in Europe.
Thanks, Zdravko. Again, back to you, like thinking about these changes that are happening, we've already discussed a little bit the generation part, but now adding storage to the equation, what is going to change regionally? I mean, storage clearly great thing to exploit the volatility of the market, but it can do so much more. And what is the impact, you know, in terms of looking at the bigger regional picture?
Well, storage definitely will be a game changer. Bulgaria seems to be the leader in this, with if this is really 10 gigawatts of capacity by 1 or 2 years ahead, wonderful. Much modest are the targets of Greece and Romania, as much as I know, 1.5 gigawatts. Their benefits, you know it, they can decrease the number of curtailments for renewables, stabilize the imbalance prices. On a separate note, in some months they have a big possibility to also decrease the base load price, because currently it remains so high because of some price spikes in the morning and in the evening. In regard to PPA, they will also provide more options and more PPAs to happen. Francesca said about the fact that many of the PPAs are financial. When we go and do some hedging, not to be fully exposed on the markets, you don't only take the spread risk going to Italy, to Germany, you also take some profile risk. There is a PV shape here, you buy the standard products on these futures markets, they are base load. But if you have a battery with PV with co-located battery, what we see now as doable is base load PPA financial. Because in fact, you take the energy from the cheapest hours, you store it and you sell it in the more expensive. You don't need, in fact, to deliver any base load, just a financial settlement. But the average product, the average price that comes because of this load shifting. It's much closer to the base load, and it seems bankable. So this will bring also more liquidity in the PPA market and more flexibility for products.
So then, are we going to see maybe, Stefan, to you, also longer-term tolling agreements, or sort of PPAs that are combining different sorts of technologies and taking storage much more into account?
Actually, it's really hard, but that's working. And the tolling agreement is something which is actually a really good opportunity for the producer, for the investor, because the best is not actually producer, it's world shifting, as Zdravko mentioned, but that's the best way to make this project bankable. But what we are suggesting is not only to use that at 100%, but to have this flexibility to try to decide what is needed for you as a bankable. And you could use, for example, tolling for 60% of your battery. And the rest is going to be exposed on the market, but that's the upside potential which could be used from the banks. And there are a lot of really interesting strategies. But I think we should go a little bit back, as Zdravko mentioned, the natural hedge of all these PV power plants in Bulgaria is best. That's the only thing which could guarantee that your investment in solar is going to be beneficial in the future. If you use such investment as a hedge, because what we are seeing, it couldn't be done merchant. It could be done merchant for probably 3 years or something like that. For biggest projects, even for 1, not for 3 at the moment, because of this illiquidity, because of this instability. But if you have a natural hedge with best installment, as for co-located projects, etc., you're sure, even if the spread is not there in 2 years, when we have, I hope, 5 gigawatt hours of BESS. But we will see in the next panels, I hope, what are the expectations.
Coming at 11-ish.
Yeah, 11.
Probably quarter past.
So yeah, if you have that, and if you lose the spread, what is that meaning? That means that you're going to receive your money from the solar, actually. Because if the curve is going to flatten, you're going to receive money in the solar hour.
So solar and BESS, or wind and BESS, are kind of hedging each other.
I think China is doing that for years.
Okay, so very quick comment by Dimitar, and then I want to follow up with Francesca.
Okay, sorry about that, but finally we are talking about the balancing market. Less I'm using the balancing market, the better for me. Because if you come to me for balancing, I'm the only client, and I'll beat you badly. Yes, this is absolute fact. So the goal here is really to be able to balance your production, your storage, and the consumption. The less I activate, the better I feel from this perspective.
So,
just a side comment, if I may,
absolutely.
On the batteries. I mean, as you know, we are super bullish on batteries, and I would like to share what we discussed before the meeting. I mean, I was very curious to meet Mr. Zarchev and to ask a specific question. I mean, what was roughly the self-curtailed electricity produced by PV in April? So on the back of the envelope calculation, we end up by saying that, again, this is super rough, about the installed capacity of 800 to 900 megawatt peak PV was basically lost because of very low prices or negative prices in April. During that time, we already had operational batteries in the country with total AC capacity of, I'm not absolutely sure, but around for 500 megawatts or so, including the co-located ones. And clearly, everyone is afraid of the best cannibalization, but we do not believe it is coming in the next at least 5-6 years. I mean, given how the market behaves now.
160 megawatts actually, and they were constantly consuming through these hours, but they were only 160.
Okay.
And we still lost, you know, these hundreds.
I mean, we manage more than 160 alone as Enery, but there are many also co-located ones, if you don't see them.
See it.
Okay, good.
Okay, that's a very good point. I think we don't have much time, but very quickly, like 2 more questions, and then we open the floor for quick questions from the audience. Francesca, storage, you know, it helps address some risks. How is that going to affect? I mean, is it really so positive, like basis risk, price risk, balancing risk? You know, it's not a, how do you call it, Wunderpille, a wonder, you know, medicine, but are we going to feel it so quickly?
So let me state maybe the obvious. So storage will be built in big quantities, right? So the opportunity for investment is there on multiple fronts for multiple users, but it's not the silver line bullet. We don't just need storage. We need a lot of storage, but it's not the end game, right? So there's thinking of your metaphor. Unfortunately, yes, we have an orchestra type system, but you have different players at political level setting the rules, different investment being made at infrastructure level, different commercial decisions being made. So it's very difficult to orchestrate because there's not a single conductor in the whole orchestra. So on the side of batteries, we need other type of technologies. We need more flexibility on the demand side as well. We do a lot of work on e-boilers, industrial flexibility. We need new source of demand as well. So storage is not the end game. We need all those solutions from a physical perspective, accompanied by creation of markets, products, system operability of all that. And at the same time, obviously, the investment side, you know, both, you know, IPPs and developers, but also financiers that need to be more sophisticated and open to new structures and more complexity. That's the end game, right? We need more complex systems to be able to integrate and transition. So again, very happy about storage. We're going to have a lot of that, but it's not the only solution. We cannot just like focus on batteries and nothing else. That's not sufficient.
Absolutely, very, very good comment. And I think, okay, we're going to be hearing more about batteries today. As we mentioned, we are also going to be hearing about potential new load, you know, data centers, a very hot topic currently. But before we end, I just want to open the floor for 1 or 2 quick questions, if there are some. Okay, I see over there a question, and then if somebody else wants to intervene, another one. Okay. The left side is more active today, apparently.
What TSOs are saying all the time, the more renewables we are installing, the more, let's say, we need inertia, and the more TSOs need inertia from the grid. Do you think that, you know, the renewables can provide actually inertia? You just install special equipments, and the wind and solar and batteries can help the grids. The question is, do you believe that these inertia tools should be now obligatory for renewables? Do you believe TSOs should force wind, solar, and batteries to actually be obliged to help the TSOs to balance the grid with these inertia tools? Thank you.
Okay, thanks. And then also at the front, Irena wants to ask something as well.
Does it work? Yes, it works. Since we are talking about cross-border and PPAs, I wanted to know, because Bulgaria, like Romania, is not a member of the Association of the Issuing Bodies, how do you deal with the guarantees of origin not being tradable outside your country?
Okay, great. So I guess the first one is for you, Dimitar, and then maybe some of you guys, the trading community, can mention about the geos.
Okay, the inertia issues. Hot topic, huh? Actually, it's not only inertia, it's stability also. Angle stability, voltage stability. This is the so-called non-frequency services. actually. This is what is running beneath, and these are the byproducts from the conventional power plants. It's a fact. Yes, in the future, probably they'll be provided by the batteries, the hybrid power plants, let's say, that obtains batteries and some renewable technology through the inverters to some extent, but for sure we as TSO, we are already discussing that we have to place sources of inertia beneath, you know, the active power transfer. This is synchronous compensation. These are shunt reactors that are controlling the voltage. For example, just last weekend, where we had, when we had this situation in North Macedonia, actually we activated all our shunt reactors here on the Bulgarian territory. That's why we managed to keep the voltages beneath a certain point. Of course, we also redispatched, we had some operational switching with changes of topology of the network and so on, just to keep the voltages beneath the, let's say, the point of no return, where this cascade of disconnections could start. And yes, in the future this will be a deeper and deeper problem. Probably it will be provided also from the renewable technology, and also we as operator will have to implement a lot of new, actually, sources of stability that will have to be working beneath the grid. So this part of the ancillary services is definitely something that will be extended and will take a very vital part in the joint operation of the grid.
Okay, thanks. And Gios, who wants to intervene shortly? Okay.
Yeah, on the Romanian cross-border PPA that I gave as an example, I mean, at the time of signing, but also today, none of the countries is full AIB member. Luckily, we had operational assets in Romania, and we could use their geos. Otherwise, you need to buy them from the market, which at the current geo prices, it's not that much of a burden. Thank you.
Okay, so Francesca, you also want to add something?
Yeah, very quickly on the geos. I think, you know, we need to be conscious that the geo market probably will move to be a more and more local market. So tradability to some extent will be less of a problem in a way, because there will be some requirements for qualification, certification of correlation, temporal, geographical. So therefore the fact, obviously, some of the markets are not AIB compliant yet. That's great to achieve that, but also consciously at European level there'll be more local markets than what we have necessarily at the moment. So corporates will also look for more matching of local production of renewables certified with geos cancelled locally. So that's a direction of travel.
Localization, granularization, 24/7 matching as a direction of travel. Okay, so I think it was a great discussion. I'm afraid we're behind time, and I would like to thank you a lot. For me, at least, it was super interesting. I guess we will be available for follow-up discussions in the coffee break after this next panel, which is now starting straight away.